What's going on? It's me again. Today I want to talk about Frost Death Knight and Battlegrounds. Specifically, we're going to look at a two-handed build. It's not a very popular build, not a very common build, might not even be a very good build, but if you're looking for a two-hand Frost build, this is probably going to be the best build that you can find. So, to start, we're just going to go over, some of the basic talents that you're going to want to pick up and things like that as you move down the tree. So obviously we'll start in the Frost tree. This is pretty much going to be your default starting point. Toughness is a little underrated, but ultimately it's not a damage increase. It's not that great. We need improved Icy Touch so we can make our way down to Icy Talents. A big part of this build is going to come down to how fast you can get your two-hand weapon swings. With this build, you're mostly going to want to be an Unholy Presence for that even faster attack speed. So all of these talents are really going to contribute to making your big old, 3.5, 3.6 two-hander swing in under 2 seconds. So you're really just going to be juicing people with these fat melee strikes over and over, and then you throw on your special abilities on top of that, and it really ends up being a lot of damage. So traditional start here, we're going to pick up Black Ice. Obviously, you can ignore Nerves of Cold Steel because we're not going dual wield. A big reason to avoid dual wield in this situation is just because we don't have enough points. I would love to be able to run a dual wield Obliterate spec like this, but you just don't have the points for it. So we're going to go 5 out of 5 Black Ice. If you really want, you can put 1 point into Icy Reach, get a little better range on chains, a little more difficult to kite. The reason I don't go into that is because our main gap closer is going to be Death Grip. Death Grip already has a little bit of a longer range, and on top of that, in a Battleground setting, it's a lot easier to find a target in range for you to smack. So you don't necessarily have to go all in on, being cut around, using chains to close the gap, things like that. There's going to be more people in range, so we're just going to try to maximize damage by picking up Black Ice here. After that, we're going to pick up Lichborn, really strong defensive, really good obviously. We're going to max out Icy Talents so that we can go down the list, and we're going to pick up Annihilation too. With the two-hand setup, this is going to be an Obliterate based build. We're pretty much taking the points that we would otherwise put in a Nerves and Threat of Thessarian, and we're going to put those into Annihilation and Rhyme so that we can get some juicy Rhyme procs too, which again adds up to fat damage, and that's always nice. So picking up this whole row as well, Endless Winter is pretty much necessary. Mind Freeze cooldown, or Mind Freeze runic power cost is eliminated. Strength increase is always nice. A lot of our damage is going to be from Frost Strikes, so we want to have that runic power generation so we get more Frost Strikes off, more damage, always great. Killing Machine, kind of a no-brainer here. Get those juicy Frost Strikes, those juicy Howling Blasts for cleave situations, a lot of damage. As we move further and further through Wrath, we can lose a couple points here as we get more and more crit, but for now we're going to want to keep that at 5. Next, we're going to pick up Glacier Rot. Really big damage increase, pretty much a 20% damage increase because you're always going to have Frost Fever up. If you don't have Frost Fever up, get Frost Fever up. So this is going to be a really big damage increase for us. So we're definitely going to pick that up. That's pretty much all we're taking from that row. Then we're going to grab Rhyme, as we talked about before. Big part of this spec is going to be built around alternating Howling or Obliterates, Howling Blast for cleave. Howling Blast cleave anytime you get a chance is a ton of damage, so you're always going to want to pick that up. Merciless Combat is our execute. Really nice damage boost, really good pressure when targets get low, so always take that. And then Icy Talents obviously is the culmination of taking all these points before it, so that's really good. Next, we're going to pick up Hungering Cold. This is pretty much one of the main reasons that Frost is good. This gives us a lot of control that the other specs don't get. It's even stronger in Battlegrounds when you can really get a big group of people frozen. It's 10 yards in a circle around you, so it's a total of a 20-yard range, 10 yards to each side, front and back, side to side, diagonally, north by northwest, however you want to put it. So that's going to be a really big damage increase, really nice, or I'm sorry, really great control cooldown, really nice. Spreads Frost Fever, which is great. You can use it as an opportunity to set up damage. What I like to do is I'll surround myself in a group of people, grip an extra person on top of me, Hungering Cold everyone, and then wait for someone to break, and that's the target that you switch to while everyone else is still controlled. You can even Scourge Strike them or Plague Strike them, and then spread your disease to everyone and have all your diseases taken while they are stuck inside your frozen tendrils. Then we're going to pick up Chill Blades. This is a really great control option for Frost This is kind of our version of Desecration. It's not necessarily better or worse, it's just what we have. It's more of a player control versus a specific area control. You know, compared to Desecration, it has its ups and downs, but it's a lot easier to spread, a lot easier to maintain, and it's just a great control option for a Battleground. You can keep a whole team of enemies constantly 50% snared. It's annoying as all hell, and that means it's really good. So next we're going to pick up Unbreakable Armor. This is pretty much our damage cooldown. We're later going to pick up Bladed Armor, which is going to make this even juicier damage cooldown. So that's really great. Definitely take that. Then we're going to take up Blood of the North, kind of a no-brainer here. Frost Strike damage increase, always great, and that alone is enough reason to take it. But the fact that it also lets you convert your blood runes into death runes for more obliterates, more howling blasts, what have you, is just an added benefit. Next, we're going to go 3 out of 3 acclamation. This talent single-handedly is what makes Frost good in Battlegrounds, in my opinion. This talent makes you so tanky against any magic damage. It's really insane. It stacks up to 3 times. It's great Dispel protection, Purge protection. It's annoying as fuck to try to purge off of you. It's annoying as fuck to try to go through it. It can give you holy protection, holy resistance, which you otherwise can't get from any other means. So acclamation is just really good. Always take it. If you're feeling ballsy, you got a team that you run with, you got a pocket heal, you can go 2 out of 3 to save points elsewhere. Otherwise, I'd always go 3 out of 3. With how bursty Battlegrounds can be right now, with how much, you know, just overall in Wrath, with how much you can just get eaten up, I like to go 3 out of 3 to get stacks up as quickly as possible. But again, if you have team, you have help, you can go for 2 to save points and put them elsewhere. Frost Strike, no brainer. Guile of Gorfy, no brainer. Just big damage increases. The Icebound Fortitude is obviously a nice buff too for the stun protection, damage protection, whatever. Tundra Stalker, you're going to max out, pretty much just a flat 15% damage increase so long as Frost Fever's up, and then you combine that with Glacier Rot, and it's a huge buff to your damage. You just want to make sure you always keep Frost Fever up, and then obviously we're going to max out with Howling Blast. Now, before we go any further into the tree, if you are just going for like max pad damage, the most important talent for you to pick up are these 2 talents right here, Epidemic. You know, if you hate feeling like you're going to be in a situation where you're playing with Unholy DK and everyone's like, bro, why aren't you fucking Unholy? Look how much more damage this Unholy DK is doing than you. Fuck that. It's all just pad. It's just pad. It's just dots. If you put 2 points in this talent right here, you will out damage that Unholy DK, because that's really where it's all coming from. It's just that DK dies, their dots are still ticking because it's a 21-second duration or whatever, 24-second duration. So if you're getting shit for some stupid ass Unholy DK out damaging you, put 2 points in there, you'll make it up. That being said, for this setup, we're only going to put 2 points in here in Virulence, just to have that little bit of hit bonus, as well as that little bit of Dispel protection. As Frost, we don't get Dispel protection, we don't get Unholy Blight, so we're going to have to kind of maintain our dots more compared to an Unholy DK. It's just part of the playstyle. You're just going to have to kind of deal with it. That being said, your Icy Touch is going to be juicing because you have a 50% crit increase on Icy Touch. You have all these other buffs to Icy Touch. It's going to do pretty good damage. So we're also later going to pick up a Glyph that's going to let Howling Blast spread Frost Fever. So it's going to be really easy to maintain our diseases compared to Unholy. We're going to have an easier time getting diseases up. It's just that they're going to be dispelled more frequently. So this just makes it a little more difficult. But at the end of the day, it's kind of filler talents. We'll be able to move these around. I'll show you a couple other filler talents that we're going to come up to. But yeah. So anyway, so that's our Frost tree pretty much. We're going to put the rest of our points for the most part into Blood because it's going to be our most important damage increase. And when I say important damage increase, what I mean is increase our important pieces of damage, right? So as I mentioned before, Epidemic is probably going to be your biggest damage increase, but it's just pad. It's not important damage. So I'm going to avoid that. Again, if you're in a situation where your friends are giving you shit for not being Unholy, not doing as much damage as Unholy, just put 2 points in there and you'll shut them right up. But if you want meaningful damage, we're going to slide over into Blood. So first I'm going to put 2 points in Blade Barrier. Butchery is decent. Frost Strike is a lot of damage, and so more runic power generation is always nice, but it's just not a lot. And it's really important to stay alive. A big part of dealing damage is just staying alive, so this little bit of extra tankiness is really going to help out. I'm going to put 3 points in Subversion just because it's a little bit of a crit increase for Obliterate, and our big burst windows are going to be Obliterate, oriented. So you can put 3 points in there if you really want. You want a little more tankiness, you could go 3 out of 3, or those 3 into blade barrier for 5 out of 5. But I'm going to keep them in there just for a little bit more damage. And then next up, because we're going to be using a two-hander, get that 4% damage increase. It's going to be nice. And then after that, we're going to put 1 point in Ascent of Blood. This is going to be a much bigger runic power generation than anything Butchery could offer us. It's going to be really nice for getting those frost strikes out. Really juicy, so we're definitely going to want to put 2 points into there. And then beyond that, we want to put at least 2 points into Bladed Armor to get that buff. That's going to be really nice. Going to combine really well with Unbreakable Armor. Going to combine really well with the fact that we're a goddamn plate class. Going to combine really well with the fact that we can pop Frost Presence to take less damage when we're being focused. So it's just a good all-around damage increase. Now, that leaves us with a filler point. 1 single filler point. We can create more filler points. We can take 2 points out of here, like I mentioned before. We could take 1 point out of Acclamation, as I mentioned before. And if you really wanted, you could even take a point out of Chillblains. 30% slow for a whole group is pretty solid, and that leaves us 5 points to spend as we will. For those 5 points, I'd probably put at least 1 more into Bladed Armor. 2 in Ascended Blood can be really good. And then beyond that, you pretty much have 3 left over to do with as you please. Me personally, I put them right there, and then maybe put the last one into Bladed Armor like that. As I said before, Acclamation, I would stick 3 out of 3. Chillblains, a big part of what we bring to the table is control, so I'd stick 3 out of 3 Chillblains all the time as well. I think if you're specifically looking for damage to compare your damage to Unholy DK, I think you're going to lose. Unless, again, you go into Epidemic, but you lose all the meaningful damage that we gain over here. So I wouldn't advise that. But again, I would take that point out. I'd grab a point in Virulence for the extra hit, extra Dispel Protection. If you want, you could also go into Death Chill to have a little more on-demand crit, but I find it's really unnecessary, especially with Killing Machine proccing so frequently. You really don't need that extra Death Chill love. So this is pretty much what I would start with. Again, for the 100th time, if you want pad damage, you want to try to compete with those top of the chart guys consistently, with those rock guys, whatever, put those 2 points into Epidemic. Beyond that, we're going to scroll down, check out some glyphs. All right, so number 1 glyph is your traditional Frost Strike. Makes your Frost Strike, what, 20% cheaper? Pretty goddamn juicy. So, is it 20%? Yeah, it's 20%, right? So always take that 100% all the time, no matter what. Second is Obliterate. This spec is unique in the fact that we're trying to make Obliterate PvP spec work. A lot of guys are going to tell you, if you're going to run Frost PvP, don't take Obliterate. Stick with Howling Blast as your spender, and then use your Unholy and your Frost runes just to maintain your diseases, pretty much. For BGs, we're going to ignore that. We're trying to make Obliterate work. That's the whole premise of the spec, taking 2-hand Obliterate, making it work. So obviously we're going to take Obliterate. Don't get discouraged if you feel like your Obliterates aren't hitting for these huge numbers. Keep in mind, this is a sustained pressure spec. This is a sustained damage spec. We're not going for big numbers. We're going for steady numbers. So people are going to be like, oh, dude, your Obliterate only hit for X or Y. Fuck that. It's about putting a large amount of damage into a small window, which we get by having 2 or 3 melee swings in 6 seconds with a big-ass 2-hander on top of an Obliterate, on top of a Rime Blast or a Rime Howling Blast. You know, just ways to add damage on top of each other. For this last slot, you have 2 options. You can take Frost Fever, Glyph of Icy Touch to have your Frost Fever deal more damage, which is really good with that pad damage spec with Epidemic. But me personally, I would always take Howling Blast. Have Howling Blast spread your disease, your Frost Fever. Really great in combination with Chillblains for obvious reasons. Really great in combination with Rime for obvious reasons. Gives you a lot of control. Lets you open with Howling Blast if you so desire, to spread your diseases and then go into your Obliterates. Depending on your rune setup, obviously, and everything like that. But I always like to go for Howling Blast. Again, if you're going for that pad spec, you might want to consider Frost Fever. But Howling Blast, the utility it provides, the ability to adapt to the situation, things like that, the different uses for it, to be able to cleave a whole group, slow them down, everything like that, really invaluable. For minor glyphs, Death's Embrace is 100% necessary. You absolutely need that for healing yourself with Lichborn, everything like that, so that's always going to take that. Glyph of Pestilence, always going to take. Best way to spread your diseases. When you spread them with Pestilence, it does slow them with Chillblains, so really good to maintain a slow on a whole group, maintain control over a fight, everything like that. And then you have, for the last one, I would probably take Glyph of Raised Dead, so you don't have to worry about buying those reagents. But if you're not worried about that, you could really go with any of these except for Corpse Explosion, because obviously we don't take that talent. So that being said, this is pretty much the spec that you're going to be looking at. This is a spec I've tested multiple times, you know, a bunch of times, a bunch of different setups. This is really what I would kind of narrow down to as the sweet spot. You know, again, there's points here and there that you can move around as you see fit, but this is the meat and bones of it. This is the skeleton I would stick to. If you want to take this and make it work as dual wield, you could, you know, take points out of here, you know, take out those blood points, fill up to get Epidemic there, and then fill in your dual wield talents like that. But I just feel like it's not as well rounded as the other spec. So again, I would just stick with what I originally showed, which is this guy. Now, as far as like rotation and things like that are concerned, I'm not going to go into it too much. This is just kind of a basic overview of the talents that you would want to get if you were going to go with a two-handed blitz spec. The rotation, the priority, spell priority, things like that is going to be pretty similar to both your Frost PvE rotation and your Unholy PvP rotation or priority. Pretty much get Frost Fever up first and foremost. If you can get Blood Plague, that's really good, especially before your Obliterate chains. But it's really about maintaining Frost Fever, burning Frost Strikes, Obliterate when you can, Howling Blast for Cleave, always spend your Rhyme procs, don't munch them, and that's really it. You're a single target with a little bit of cleave, sustain pressure class. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video. You know, down and dirty, quick overview of a two-hand Obliterate spec. Try it out. Let me know what you think. I've had a lot of fun with it. Hope you do too. And to hell with Unholy. It's all about Frost these days, boys. It's all about Frost. So hope this guide helped you out. Hope to make some more in the future. I know it's been tough, but you know, we'll do what we can. So again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope to catch you next time.